I just survived my very first relegation battle. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. When I found the beautiful game just a few years ago, one of the things that pulled me across the line as a true football fan was this concept of promotion and relegation. Something that just didn't exist in my American sports ecosystem. Just not something that we have. We have what's called a draft system. So many of you are familiar with it. I talk about it on the channel sometimes, but if your team has a crap season like Tottenham had this season, imagine that at the end of the season, all 20 Premier League teams, based on their finishing spot on the table, would get to pick a top player from a lower division. And the worst team would get the best pick, and the best team would get the lowest pick. And so that's the way American system works. If we have a crap season like Spurs had this year, we would get the opportunity to pick the best player out of the lower division, so to improve our chances for the next season. And so there's always this hope in American sports that next year will be the year. And so if you have the season we had, and week after week there's no results, there's no points going up on the table, there's no wins, then you recognize we're not going to the postseason this year. We're not going to have any success. And so fans begin to start planning for the draft. You start setting up mock drafts with your friends, and you start conversating about which player you want to target in the upcoming draft, and you start actively wishing that your team would lose matches. Like, losses are important to you in that scenario. You need to lose because losing improves your team. And so the concept of relegation is far superior. It's a far superior concept because with relegation, every match was so important. Like, this season came down to the final whistle, and if it wasn't for a goal in the 42nd minute of this game, then Spurs may be out of the Premier League next season. And to experience the euphoria that came from that goal, in this match, every single kick of the ball mattered. With every kick of the ball, you can feel that sense of, like, this matters. This matters. We were playing a meaningful football game at the very last game of the season. The last game of the season on a crappy season is the most important game that these players have probably ever played in their life. The most important game that many of the Spurs fans have ever experienced in their life, because this was your life in the Premier League. Like, we came one game away from being one goal away from being the richest team in the championship, or having the richest stadium, the biggest stadium in the championship. Can you imagine Wrexham versus Tottenham next season at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Like, we came that close to being relegated. And so this game, it was exciting for a Spurs fan. It was exciting. And exciting to see how West Ham's fate was decided by the final whistle of Tottenham's season. That's an incredible thing to experience. One club, they won their game 3-0, but it didn't matter because Tottenham, like, their fate hinged on our game. So that was an incredible experience. And I'll tell you this, going through the season to get to this final game was not enjoyable at all. There's this sense of, like, dread that overcomes you when week after week, you just keep dropping down the table and no points are being added to the table. Like, that just dreadful feeling coming over you. Like, we're going to get relegated. This is going to happen because we can't buy a goal. Like, we can't buy a goal in a single match. So I wouldn't recommend anyone going through a relegation battle. I'm just giving my sort of unfiltered thoughts on how I experienced it. I love the fact that I wasn't thinking about anything other than winning on the last game of the season. I've never experienced that in my life. When my when my teams have bad seasons and we underperform all year, we are never in a position to play a meaningful game anywhere near after October. Around October, if you haven't been winning games and you're losing enough games, I mean, teams will strategically start playing backups instead of playing their starters because, all right, we're losing anyway. It's strategic now. The more we lose, the better positioning we're going to get. And so you don't see, I mean, if your team is bad from the start, you don't get to see a meaningful game at all. You don't get to have your emotions invested in a result at all because none of the games matter. That was not so here. When we had this game, when we had the referees announced 9 minutes of stoppage time at the end of the match, I about fell to the floor. 9 minutes to survive this. And then when it went to 10 minutes and then it went to 11 minutes, I was just so stressed. Thankfully, Everton didn't take the match as seriously as I maybe would have. And they just didn't perform well because, man, those 11 minutes at the end of the game, the most stressful minutes of a match, man, that was crazy. One of the things I loved in the end was when the final whistle came, and you see the reactions from both squads. You know, for Everton, it didn't really mean much, but seeing the Spurs players fall to the pitch, they've survived. They stayed up. When you see the West Ham supporters, let's see, they have a screen here. Yeah, you see the West Ham supporters finding out the result and realizing that their club has just been relegated. Like, the heartbreak and the feeling of relief is an incredible experience. So there's two parts of me. One part is not happy that we ended the season in this fashion. The other part of me is exhilarated that I got to experience that, because I got to experience a core element of this beautiful game. And this was my first time experiencing it. I hope I never have to do it again. But this is a little bit of a rambling video. This is unfiltered thoughts. I've just sort of given you stream of consciousness what I thought about. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash like on the video for me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.